A very good evening to you. Thank you very much for joining us for this edition of Channel One News Hour. My name is Edward Kabasa. Kenya today tested 10 positive cases of the coronavirus out of 580 people sampled for this particular disease. But there are some good news today. 5 have recovered from the coronavirus, and in total, Kenya has seen 14 people succumb to this deadly disease that has continued to decimate the globe. Let us take a look at the global figures now. There are 3,166,819 cases confirmed globally today. But the good news is that 976,191 people have recovered from COVID-19. But on a sad note, 219,611 people have succumbed to coronavirus. Of course, the governments across the globe are trying their level best to ensure that the virus is stopped. Of course, there is still no known cure for coronavirus, but scientists are working round the clock, including our very own Kemri, to ensure that we are positioned to be among the countries that are doing everything possible to ensure that the cure is found. We have a comprehensive bulletin lined up for you tonight. But first, let us take a look at the highlights.
In the last 24 hours, we have tested a total of 508 samples from 14 counties. Out of this number, 10 tested positive for coronavirus.
The graph keeps rising. 10 more Kenyans test positive for coronavirus as the Ministry of Health suspends mass testing for now.
We are disturbed that reintegration has not been easy for these people. We have reports of stigmatization by members of the community for our recovered cases.
Fear of the unknown as a family in Kiambu faces stigmatization over their dead king and trying to keep the economy going. Central Bank of Kenya lowers base lending rate by 25 basis points to 7%. Once again, thank you very much for joining us. Byron Abuli is handling the sign language interpretation for us tonight. You can interact with us on Twitter at KBC Channel 1, on Facebook, KBC Channel 1. My Twitter handle is at Ed Kabasa. Welcome to the program. The government has ruled out mass testing at the moment following challenges posed by inadequate testing equipment as the Health Ministry outlined its testing prioritization strategy. Health Administrative Secretary Dr. Masi Mwangangi at the same time urged Mombasa residents to rededicate their energy in the fight against COVID-19 as the country recorded 10 more coronavirus positive cases, 9 coming from the coastal city while 1 from Nairobi. The total number of infections now rise to 384 as 5 more people recovered from the deadly virus. Purity Museo begins our coverage tonight.
The coastal city of Mombasa now bears 27% of Kenya's total COVID-19 burden, even though Nairobi County has maintained the lead with 242 cases, which is 63% of all reported cases in Kenya. Mombasa's trend of infections is worrying. Among the 10 new COVID-19 cases recorded in the last 24 hours Wednesday, 9 are from Mombasa County, while 1 is from Nairobi.
In the last 24 hours, we have tested a total of 508 samples from 14 counties. Out of this number, 10 tested positive for coronavirus, and of these, 9 are from Mombasa and 1 from Nairobi. This brings to total 384 total number of positive cases in the country. From the number tested, 284 samples were from Nairobi, while 89 were from Mombasa.
Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Mercy Mwangangi, who tasked Mombasa residents to take measures outlined by the Ministry of Health, seriously noted that the increasing numbers from the two counties was a pointer of immense work required.
All the 9 cases in Mombasa were picked from the community by our disease surveillance teams. Each of the following areas has had 1 case: Old Town, Santana, Miritini, Bamburi, Mikandani, Kibokoni, Ganjoni, Memon, and Chuda. The Nairobi case is from Kawangware.
Nairobi now has 242 cases, Mombasa 106, Kilifi has 9 cases, Mandera 8, Kajiado 3, Kitui, Kwale, Nakuru, and Siaya 2 cases each, with Homa Bay, Kakamega, and Uasin Gishu counties having a case each. Dr. Mwangangi added that 5 more patients have been discharged, bringing the total number of recoveries to 129. The cases were recorded from 508 samples tested in the last 24 hours from 14 counties. At the same time, the CS noted that mass testing may not be achieved at the moment, outlining the ministry's test prioritization strategy.
What we will be deploying shortly is what we are calling seroprevalence studies within the environment. So taking an area like Kawangware and asking ourselves, the population in Kawangware, have they come into contact with any coronavirus case? And if they have, are there antibodies showing that we need to utilize our community health volunteers to ensure that they run for us what we are calling community-based surveillance, and ensure that they're utilizing a tool that can pick out Purity from the crowd and say, Purity has a temperature, she has these symptoms, perhaps we need to focus on Purity and test Purity.
Since the first case of COVID-19 was reported in the country on 13th of March this year, Kenya has 241 active cases of COVID-19 after 14 succumbed to the disease and 129 recovered. The government says it's embarking on a mass testing exercise soon. For now, Kenyans are being urged to adhere to guidelines provided by the Ministry of Health to prevent spread of COVID-19. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News, Nairobi.
Now, cases of racial discrimination and social stigmatization towards COVID-19 victims have been on the rise globally. Locally, a family in Limuru, Kiambu County, has been a victim of the social vice following the death and undignified burial of their kin, who allegedly died from the deadly COVID-19 disease. Their lives have turned a nightmare days after their brother died and buried quickly in accordance with the government's measures to curb the spread of COVID-19. Ben Chumba with that report.
It is in Karanji village in Limuru, Kiambu County, that we meet 27-year-old James Gatonye, whose life has been extremely challenging for the past few days. For him and his family, life has been normal until their brother died and buried in a manner likely to suggest that he may have been suffering from COVID-19.
Tuliona mazishi ikifanyika, kwanza tulikuwa na swali ya kujiuliza kwani ilikuwa COVID ama haikuwa COVID. Juu tuliona jinsi ilifanyika ki-COVID, so tukawa na hiyo maswali ya kujiuliza.
Watu walishikwa na uoga, lakini tuliambiwa njue yake ilikuwa kifua. Itabidi tu asikwe kama rawa watu wako na ile ugonjwa, juu yake ilikuwa kifua na ilikuwa imemfunga kabisa. Hata wakati wenye alitolewa hapa alikuwa amefungana. Na hiyo siku ndiyo alienda akakufa.
It is for this reason that his family has been subjected to social avoidance or rejection from neighbors and entire community who believe they could also be suffering from COVID-19.
Na bado tutagojea tuone kama ni nini pengine linafuata, iwapo tutajua kama results, kama wakazi hatujapata results kujua kama ni COVID, alikuwa COVID positive ama negative.
Daktari hawajatoa results zao kutoka jana vile walituambia, vile walisema. Ningependa kuwaambia watu waache wasiwasi na waache kukata kauli kusema ni ugonjwa fulani. Waache tugoje vile ripoti zitakuja kutoka kwa county government, kutoka kwa county hospital, na tukipata vile hiyo ripoti itakuja, hivyo ndivyo tutasema. Hakuna kitu ya kuficha.
The frustrations experienced by Gatonye could only be a drop in the ocean.
We are disturbed that reintegration has not been easy for these people. We have reports of stigmatization by members of the community for our recovered cases. And this is unfortunate considering our constant appeal and massive education to ensure that people are accepted back in the community.
Hundreds of others could be facing the similar hardships, especially those confirmed to be positive or those isolated over suspicious of contact with a positive person.
The only way we can be able to beat this disease is if we avoid issues like stigmatization. Stigmatization will lead to fewer Kenyans accepting to be tested, and it will frustrate the efforts that we are putting on the ground to ensure that we flatten this curve.
In the wake of coronavirus pandemic, cases of racial discrimination around the world have been reported. However, it should be noted, coronavirus has nothing to do with how someone looks like, where they are from, or the language they speak. Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
Members of Parliament now want the Ministry of Health to explain the circumstances that led to the removal of Joel Lutomia as the acting director of the Center for Virus Research at the Kenya Medical Research Institute. The lawmakers want information on if all laid down disciplinary procedures were instituted before Lutomia was removed from his position. The Health Ministry has in the meantime maintained that the reshuffle was done in the best interest of the ongoing efforts to ensure efficiency at KEMRI. Joel Lutomia was reshuffled following an alleged delay in the release of coronavirus test results. His removal from the directorate of the Center for Virus Research at the Kenya Medical Research Institute, raising eyebrows among members of Parliament.
What is the fate of Dr. Lutomia following his demotion, given the shortage of experienced medical personnel in the fight against coronavirus?
The lawmakers questioned the motive of Lutomia's reshuffle and if the law and instruments governing KEMRI were applied before the hurried decision was made.
I wanted the chair to also add if KEMRI board was involved, because we know KEMRI is a corporation that is run independently, and this decision of sacking Dr. Lutomia, if the board was involved. The Ministry of Health has maintained that Lutomia's removal was in the best interest of KEMRI, calling on Kenyans not to trivialize the matter.
Decisions were made were in line to streamline and improve the coordination of test results being received in good time. The other issues are administrative issues within KEMRI, and I would like to leave it at that.
MPs in the meantime poked holes on a statement issued in Parliament detailing how the government has spent 300 million shillings towards the fight against COVID-19.
Each county has a gene expert equipment capable of at least testing 20 tests per day for each machine. Some counties have 3 gene experts, others have 4, depending on the number of county and sub-county hospitals.
You have said every county has a machine that can test. I can confirm there's counties don't have. There's a serious testing issue here.
God loves us. I will tell you, Mr. Speaker, if this COVID leaves Nairobi and probably Mombasa properly and land on some of our counties, like in my county, I really am not sure whether, Mr. Speaker, my people would survive.
Health Committee Chairperson Sabina Chege had, in the statement, said the Ministry of Health had so far been allocated 300 million shillings and not 40 billion shillings, as is being claimed. Governors want refugee camps in the country decongested to avert the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. The governors are worried at the state of the camps, claiming there were fertile grounds for the spread of the virus should it occur in such areas. They are now appealing to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees to address the matter.
Governors are raising concerns of the state of congestions at refugee camps, mainly in northern parts of the country. The governors warning that social distancing was alien to such camps and fear that should the coronavirus outbreak be reported in such areas, it would be hard to contain.
Kenya has been a host of refugees from neighboring countries for more than 3 decades, who are currently residing mainly in northern Kenya, Rift Valley, coastal and Nairobi region. In the wake of the current problem, social distancing among the refugees have proved to be complex issues.
Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, who is also the chairperson of the Council of Governors, wants measures to be prioritized to ensure such areas are safe.
We call upon the national government in collaboration with the UN, HRCR, to urgently assist the host counties with both technical and financial support.
The council also wants testing centers for COVID-19 set up across the country as part of containing the disease.
Turkana to drive up to this moment, the fact that there are no aircraft coming, it takes 4 days. So how can you be bringing tests to Eldoret, which takes 4 days?
This as Bungoma Governor Wycliffe Wangamati raises concern on the traffic along the Kenya-Uganda border. Wangamati says a 40-kilometer stretch congestion is a threat to the health of the locals and security of the communities around the border.
We want to ask the national government to engage the Ugandan government so that we ease the pressure that is there at the border, because what is happening is that it's taking almost 3 or 4 days for a truck to be cleared at the border.
Irene Mchuma Odim, Channel 1.
You are watching Channel 1 News Hour. We are taking a short break, but we still have plenty more lined up for you, including news on how some Kenyans are turning to fishing just to eke a living. Don't go anywhere.
Virusi vya korona vinazidi kuenea haraka kote ulimwenguni, na kwa sasa hakuna dawa au chanjo ya kuzuia. Husambaa wakati vijitone kutoka kwa mtu aliyeambukizwa vinaporuka akiongea, kukohoa au kupiga chafya. Vijitone hivi hutua kwenye sehemu ambazo mikono hushika na huwezi kuviona, lakini hata kama huvioni haimaanishi kuwa hakuna, na unaweza kuambukizwa unapogusa uso wako, pua, mdomo au macho. Ili kusaidia kuzuia kuenea kwa virusi hivi, sote tunahitajika kufanya mambo matano. 1. Fuata hatua hizi: kuosha mikono yako mara kwa mara na sabuni na maji kwa angalau sekunde 40. 2. Funika mdomo wako na kiwiko wakati wowote unapokohoa au kupiga chafya. 3. Usishike uso wako. 4. Epuka sehemu zenye watu wengi. Weka umbali salama baina yako na wenzako. 5. Kaa nyumbani ukiweza, hasa ikiwa una dalili zozote za ugonjwa. Kwa maelezo zaidi tembelea www.who.int.
Yo, remember, ukitaka kustay safe from coronavirus, lazima ufuate hizi steps. 1. Osha mikono kila time for 20 seconds, hata unaweza imba happy birthday mara 2. 2. Usishike uso, macho na mapua yako, especially kama hujaosha mikono. 3. Ukitaka kucough, utumie tissue alafu utupe kwa dustbin ama ucough kwa elbow. 4. Avoid kuenda mahali kuna watu wengi ama kusalimia mtu na kuhug mtu. In case usikie uko mgonjwa, please ambia parents wako ama guardians wako. Let's all stay safe.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Ayo, you better be joking. How can such a small man like you smell that horrible?
You guys, it is not me, it is this Solomon.
That was a private conversation. Where are your manners?
If it was private, si ungetoka nje. When you expected us to sit here like India, to stare in at you like a monument in a museum? Nonsense.
People. What is your problem? What is your problem? Did your parents pay school fee so that you come and make noise here in school? Some of us are trying to concentrate with the studies. You mind?
I am perfectly fine, Dawa, unless you have some hidden agenda.
My agenda is to ondoe hiyo mnuko kabisa huko.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Ayo, you better be joking. How can such a small man like you smell that horrible?
You guys, it is not me, it is this Solomon.
That was a private conversation. Where are your manners?
If it was private, si ungetoka nje. When you expected us to sit here like idiots, staring at you like a monument in a museum? Nonsense.
People. What is your problem? What is your problem? Did your parents pay school fee so that you come and make noise here in school? Some of us are trying to concentrate with the studies. You mind?
I am perfectly fine, Dada, unless you have some hidden agenda.
My agenda is to ondoe hiyo mnuko kabisa huko.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Welcome back to the program. Hundreds of flower firm and hotel workers in Naivasha have now turned to fishing at the Lake Naivasha after they were laid off in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Dozens are now flocking the freshwater lake on a daily basis to eke a living. Concerns are, however, rife over foreseeable degradation as the high numbers continue to compete for space around the water body.
Lake Naivasha is now a beehive of activity. Both the young and the old flock here on a daily basis, looking for an alternative means to eke a living. Most of them lost their jobs at the flower farms and hotels synonymous with Naivasha when the pandemic struck the country.
Hao wote unaona wengi walikuwa nafanya kazi kwa maua. Kazi ikaisha. Sasa wamekuja kuwasa kutafuta samaki hapa kidogo ndio wapate chakula ya kukula.
Sasa hivi pesa ndio kuna. Ile utapata hapo kama ni samaki 5, hiyo ni utauza ama upate na hiyo ndio utakula.
The main activity here is fishing, one that according to Lake Naivasha Boat Owners Association chairman David Kilo may not be sustainable.
Tunaweza enda tukakosa samaki miezi ambazo zinakuja kwa sababu kila mtu anavua. Ndege anavua, binadamu anavua, uwe na leseni au na leseni unavua.
The group resorting to using undersized nets and hooks, which is a blow to marine growth.
It's a challenge because you cannot stop them from fishing. It's the only alternative that most of them are making a living out of.
Sisi wananchi tunaumia sana hapa nje. Usipoingia hapa hakuna kitu utatoka naye. Na kuna watoto kuasol tu.
But even as many depend on it as the only source of income, challenges abound. Sales are low due to the dusk to dawn curfew.
Samaki sasa nikipata kuna 10 na 20, lakini ile kidogo kabisa tunarudisha kwa maji sababu wezi kulika iko nje. Sasa hata hiyo samaki pia kupata ni ngumu, ni kuwasol tu ingia vile unaniona niko hivi ndio unapata.
Attacks from hippos have also been rampant lately, which the lake managers attributed to high number of the illegal fishermen, terming the crisis as worrying.
Hivyo kwamba serikali inafaa kuja na utaratibu fulani wa kulisha jamii ambayo imeathiriwa mno.
Kamchemenza for Channel 1 News.
And to a happy story now. Proper nutrition helps in boosting immunity, which health experts say is key in fighting infections, including the novel coronavirus, which causes COVID-19. Health experts say everyone faces the risk of exposure to the global pandemic, hence the need to maintain good immunity. This is where nutrition experts come in, as their knowledge on the best diet is on high demand. Kamche Menza tells the story of a lady in Nanyuki, Laikipia County, who was for the last 3 decades advocated for healthy living in our own small way.
Susan Wanjiku is passionate about healthy living. A visit to her shop gives a clear picture of the sort of trade she engages in, from cereals to herbs, both traditional and modern. Wanjiku, popularly known as Mama Ngodho by her customers, has mastered the nutrition components of each product. She's a self-taught nutritionist and is constantly learning.
Moriga, malenge, na hata madizi. Hata ikikaushwa inakaushwa inasiagwa inakuwa uji, hata inasatumiwa kama supu. Watu wakunywe hata kama ni supu breakfast kuliko kukula mkate.
For the last 30 years, she has used her knowledge to mix nutritious porridge flour, a blend that has attracted a growing list of clientele.
Hapa nimechanganya wimbi, nimechanganya mtama, nimechanganya mawele, nimechanganya hizi mbegu za mchicha, nimechanganya mahindi.
With her knowledge, Mama Ngodho sometimes prescribes different cereal combinations for various ailments such as arthritis, obesity, and high blood pressure.
Mount Kenya region kuna kuwaga na baridi ya snow, so kukakuja arthritis ikawa mingi sana, naye nikaanza kutafuta moringa aloe vera seed, naye nikaanza kutengeneza unga ya moringa, muhogo, madizi, hivyo juu ya arthritis.
Health experts say good nutrition helps in boosting immunity, and in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, a healthy immune system is said to be key in reducing the risk of infection.
The first step to improve your immunity is to understand that a lot of your immune cells are actually found in your intestines, in your gut. It's called gut-associated lymphatic tissue. And this immune system is kept healthy by the right foods. And sugar basically destroys the immune system, one. Sugar causes you to put on weight.
Dr. Amit discourages the consumption of foods that lower immunity, saying everyone faces the risk of exposure.
If it's difficult for you to get vitamin C from the shops, there are certain foods that have high vitamin C in them. One is guava fruit, the other is lemons, oranges, and also baobab powder is very high in vitamin C. Another favorite food of mine to use during this time is pumpkin seeds, because pumpkin seeds are high in zinc, and that also improves the immune system.
But as experts struggle to find a vaccine for the novel coronavirus, Kenyans can play their part by going back to consumption of traditional foods that had been abandoned in favor of modern cuisines. Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News.
And preparations for the burial of former Meru Catholic retired Bishop Silas Njuru, who died in Italy due to COVID-19 Tuesday morning, are complete, and he is expected to be buried tomorrow, Thursday, in Italy at 10 a.m. Kenyan time. According to Meru Catholic Bishop Right Reverend Selasius Mugambi, all arrangements are in place, adding that the event will be presided by only one priest in Italy. Bishop Mugambi said though Bishop Njuru, who was born and brought up in Kevote area in Embu, most of the area Catholic faithful wanted the burial to take place at Meru St. Joseph Cathedral Church. He said the demands were impossible given that the coronavirus has affected the whole world, making it impossible for the body to be brought to Kenya. Bishop Mugambi termed the late retired Bishop Silas Njuru as a person who devoted himself to giving to the less fortunate, loving, and a person who valued development for the community.
Okay. Ile tulielezwa na huzuni sana, basi wakampeleka, wakapanga mipango ya vile watapeleka mwili wake, na kwa vile wakati huwezi kusafirisha mili na njia yoyote, basi tapanga ziko huko kwa kaburi moja ya mishonari wa Konsolata, na tazikwa kesho saa 3:30 huko, hapa itakuwa saa 4:30.
And may his soul rest in eternal peace. The World Health Organization is warning countries not to abandon immunization on children against other killer diseases, even as focus shifts to the coronavirus pandemic. WHO sounded the warning as the World Immunization Week kicked off, with women and children being the center of focus.
Now, the COVID-19 disease or infection has no known vaccine. However, we do understand and know for a fact that there are various vaccine candidates being examined. Within our country, we don't have any as of yet, but I do believe, and like we have always done, that the government will be able to make available any vaccine that will be found to be effective against COVID-19 as soon as it becomes available. However, as the country continues to invest in infrastructure development and its capacity to be able to develop vaccines, it still remains a future aspiration that we're able to develop vaccines for these infectious diseases, and COVID-19 being among them. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we are faced with this pandemic, it poses the most significant threat to our health systems as it is now for us as a country, and this especially to the health of mothers and children. To the best extent possible, as a Ministry of Health, we do advise, and we have, through our leadership, worked very hard to ensure that there is continuity in immunization services to the best extent possible, and the COVID response measures allowing. This is important because if for a moment in time we have interruptions in immunization service delivery, then we will be faced with a situation where there'll be many children or many mothers that then would have no immunity against other life-threatening diseases.
And away from coronavirus, officers from the Directorate of Criminal Investigation Forensic Unit have launched investigations into the mysterious death of a man who was burnt beyond recognition inside his car in Nairobi's Buruburu estate. Buruburu Subdivision DCIO Adam Guyo said it was not clear what could have caused the incident.
This is the wreckage of what used to be a Subaru Impreza owned by the deceased. What has baffled many is how the man who was on the driver's seat burned to death while on upright position without attempting to save himself. According to Buruburu Subdivision DCIO Adam Guyo, they were called by guards and management of Mai Mahiu Court and informed them there was a car on fire at about 8:30 a.m.
Na majirani waliweza kuja na ndio walisaidia mpaka huo moto ukazimika pamoja na firefighters kutoka Nairobi City County. Ziliweza kukuja firefighters 2 na ndio ziliweza kusaidia na ikaweza kuzimwa hilo moto. Mtu mwenyewe alichomeka lakini anajulikana ni nani.
It was after the fire was contained that they established the man's identity and his house. Guyo saying police are yet to establish the cause of the fire. Preliminary analysis, according to the police, on the wreckage showed only the inner part of the Subaru was damaged.
So far, our forensic investigators have been able to collect some samples from the vehicle, and we've sent them to the government laboratories for forensic analysis so that we can be able to conclusively say the cause of the fire.
The deceased leaves behind a 29-year-old wife and 2 children. Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
At least 116 people have died and 100,000 households displaced following heavy rains in parts of the country. This is according to Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa, who affirmed that the government has enough food to support affected families.
Addressing the media at Afya House, Nairobi, Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa said the government has dispatched 40,000 bags of rice to 24 counties worst hit by the floods. Wamalwa urged the affected counties to ensure residents move to higher grounds to avert further loss of life.
Though we have the COVID situation in the country and we are dealing with it, it's not a local issue, it's a global issue. We also are in the same breath dealing with another disaster of floods. In the midst of COVID crisis, the floods are back with us.
At the same time, Wamalwa said 4 billion shillings had been disbursed to counties to support efforts to curb spread of the novel coronavirus epidemic. Elsewhere, River Malakisi and Komera in Busia County have burst their banks, literally cutting off residents of the area. Consequently, they have been cautioned to avoid Machakosi Bridge that is now too dangerous to cross. In a recent incident, 2 boda operators were almost swept away while attempting to cross over to Busia from Malaba. Residents in the area are also counting losses after water spilling over from the swollen rivers flooded their farms, destroying crops. Meanwhile, over 5,000 families have been displaced by floods in Nakuru County. Speaking after donating foodstuff and personal effects to affected families, Chief Officer in charge of disaster management in the county, Ann Jenga, says the most affected areas is Kihoto Estate in Naivasha, Mbaruku Ward in Gilgil, Ndabibi, and Kiptagich in Kuresoi. She called on the families living near the 2 water bodies to relocate to higher grounds.
What we have, the governor is bent to do is to help them with the humanitarian assistance, and that is what we have brought here. We are helping them with food. The ones who are displaced, they are
In Baringo South, hundreds of locals in Loboi in the shores of Lake Bogoria will be forced to look for treatment many kilometers away after Loboi dispensary was submerged by floods following heavy rains. Eunice Jepke, a resident, said the dispensary was their only treatment center, and now they have no choice but to look for treatment in Margat, which is over 10 kilometers away. Baringo Women Representative Gladwell Tungo says 3 sub-counties has been affected by the floods and appealed to locals to move to higher, safer areas.
Watu wataribu kutafuta sehemu za juu za sehemu zao ambazo wanaishi ili waepukane na janga la kufunikwa na maji ama kubebwa kwa mifugo yao na hata wao wenyewe.
Meanwhile, 1,500 families have been displaced in 3 sub-counties of Garissa, Mbalambala and Fafi by raging floods after River Tana burst its banks 4 days ago following heavy rains upstream. Garissa members of county assemblies have raised concerns over spillage at the Kenya Power Masinga dams that are causing heavy flooding downstream.
Tunaomba katika serikali wasaidie wakazi ambao wanakaa karibu na Tana River. Sisi ni kila wakati hii kitu ni kitu inarudianga, tunaweleta complaint, tumejaribu kufuatilia, sijui ni kwa nini tunafanywa kila wakati inakuwa hivyo.
Elsewhere, Narok Governor Samuel Ole Tunai has warned families living along major rivers in Narok County to exercise caution and move to higher grounds. Tunai, who was at Oromoshi Primary School, said rivers like the Mara have already burst their banks.
Watu wanaishi karibu na milima, kuna watu wengi wanaishi upande ile na Pojonga na milima zingine nyingi, kwamba kwa sasa afadhali watu waweze kuhama.
Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Timothy Kipnoso.
Police in Ruiru have shot and killed 2 most wanted criminals, according to Kiambu County Commander Ali Nuno. The armed thugs have been terrorizing residents for a period now. This even as another suspected criminal was gunned down in Kayole area of Nairobi Tuesday night by security officers. The proverbial 40 days of the 2 most wanted criminals in Ruiru, Kiambu County came to pass Wednesday after they were gunned down by security officers in the area. The armed thugs who were said to be operating at will using motorbikes were caught in act by police and took off while the security officers in hot pursuit.
Our officers got some tip-offs that there was a motorcycle which was numberless that was seen along the eastern bypass with some suspicious characters.
According to Kiambu County Commander Ali Nuno, the criminals decided to hide in a bush near the eastern bypass where they were shot and killed by police officers after a fierce exchange of fire.
1 firearm has been recovered. Both of them were armed. The other firearm has been thrown within this forest and we are looking for it. Reliably, we are informed that this is the same gang that have been operating in Eastlands and in Umoja.
In Kayole, Nairobi police on Tuesday night gunned down 1 suspected criminal and recovered a revolver, pistol, 1 round of ammunition and 1 homemade pistol. According to the police, they had received reports of a gang of 4 that was taking advantage of the dusk to dawn curfew to unleash terror on residents of Kayole in Nairobi. The dreaded gang are said to impersonate police officers when committing crimes. One of the victims reported robbery incident, and police immediately launched a manhunt of the criminals, killing one of the 4 suspects with the remaining 3 escaping towards Ngong River. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Timothy Kipnoso. Let's take a look at other matters now. Police officers in Mbeere South Sub-County, Embu County have arrested 2 middle-aged men with 2 elephant tusks valued at 1 million shillings. The 2 were arrested as they tried to transport the tusks out of the county. Police believe that the ivory was from an elephant killed 2 years ago at the Moya National Reserve in Embu County.
2 suspects were arrested with the elephant tusks as they ferried them from Mutuabare, Embu County to a known destination. Mbeere South OCPD Ahmed Mohamed said police officers together with Kenya Wildlife Service Rangers had been looking for the tusk for 2 years since the said elephant was killed at the Moya National Reserve.
Tukafanya uchunguzi wetu tukiwa pamoja na hao maofisa kutoka Wildlife Services, ndipo tukawatuma kule area Mutwavale Ile hali ya uchunguzi tukapata vijana hawa wawili ambayo walikuwako na pembe ya ndovu mbili na walikuwa nataka kuiuza.
The two suspects will be arraigned at the Chicago law courts to answer to charges of poaching. Elsewhere, a quarry located at Nyamonema in Kisii County has been a source of friction between the owners and the local community. Blasts from the quarry are allegedly affecting area residents, forcing them to temporarily flee their homes when they were supposed to be indoors and observing coronavirus measures. And residents of Kirisia Forest in Samburu County have staged a peaceful demonstration to protest their eviction. The squatters are lamenting that they were not given any notice and that they have lost all their belongings.
Watoto wanalia, hatujui mahali ya kuenda. Na nyinyi ndo tunategemea. Nyinyi ndo mtegemezi yetu. Sasa mtatupugusa mwetu. Sisi tunaenda wapi?
Nimezaliwa hapa na bado tunaishi. Lakini ingepea notice. Kwa nini wanakuja kunishomea nyumba na hajanipea notice? Na sijui mahali pengine. Serikali yetu ya kuu utaniweka wapi?
Meanwhile, the Mandera County government has begun a relief food distribution program to vulnerable groups in the society to cushion them on economic challenges brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. Mandera County Governor Ali Roba said some 10,000 households are set to benefit from assorted food rations, adding that over 86,000 households are in dire need of relief food in the county.
The need assessment of these most vulnerable members of the community within the 7 sub-counties up to the village level, and more specifically the number of households mostly affected in the county.
And two Thika-based farms have donated 50 million shillings in cash and product to support poor and vulnerable Kenyans who have been afflicted by the effects of coronavirus pandemic. Broadway's Bakery Limited and its subsidiary company Bakex Millers Limited, as well as Capwell Industries Limited, handed over the donations to the COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund and the Kiambu County Government. Finally, Kirinyaga County Government has received a boost in its war against the coronavirus after well-wishers and the national government donated face masks and other related items. Other items presented to Governor Anne Waiguru included bar soaps, detergents, and water tanks. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Ben Troenjoe.
And from counties to our second break, business news is on the other end of that break. Don't go anywhere.
Una hakika tuingia hapa?
Hapa? Kathy, does she ever talk to you?
Kwa nini?
Kuuliza tu.
We need to talk about her every time we are together.
I'm sorry, but I really need to see my dad.
You will, I promise.
And why doesn't he want to meet me?
What makes you think he doesn't want to meet you? Have you met him before?
Nancy said,
Aha, Nancy.
Mko sawa? Tuko sawa bro.
Hatuko sawa.
Ni nini mbaya?
Nini huyu kijana?
Are watching Channel 1 News Hour. Thank you very much for keeping us company. Let us take a look at business news. The Kenya Pipeline Company is targeting to produce and distribute 2 million liters of hand sanitizers to needy Kenyans. Kenya Pipeline Company Managing Director Mashari Irungu says the parastatal, which has been using ethanol that had been shipped into Kenya illegally, has so far produced and distributed 800,000 liters of hand sanitizers to needy Kenyans across the country.
The Kenya Pipeline Company has been utilizing ethanol that had been illegally shipped into the country to manufacture and distribute hand sanitizers to needy Kenyans in efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19. According to KBC Managing Director Masharia Irungu, the parastatal has to date produced and distributed 800,000 liters of hand sanitizers across the country.
In terms of liters, we've produced 800,000 liters. We are looking from, we are still collecting alcohol from different parts. We have alcohol in Hispania, which was being sneaked in. We have alcohol in Amanga. We have alcohol in Nevasha.
Kenya Pipeline Company has entered into partnerships with 10 private entities to boost its hand sanitizer production capacity, with the parastatal seeking more partnership with oil and gas companies due to their blending expertise and distribution networks.
The JOK has provided alcohol to KPC. KPC work is to coordinate the blending and bind things like gasoline and peroxide, and given Kenocobil, who have the ability to blend this.
The legacy of COVID-19 that we will find in this country. I think it's first of all strengthening the camaraderie that we find among us Kenyans. The other thing is the development and enhancement of the manufacturing sector in Kenya. Because if it was not for the manufacturing sector in Kenya, we wouldn't be able to manufacture these hand sanitizer and the other things that are going on.
The parastatal is targeting to produce and distribute 2 million liters of hand sanitizers to needy Kenyans. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Equity Group Foundation and the MasterCard Foundation have committed 1.1 billion shillings to provide personal protective equipment to frontline medical staff dealing with COVID-19 patients in public hospitals in Kenya. Of the cash, the family of Equity Bank CEO James Mwangi has donated 300 million shillings, MasterCard Foundation has donated 500 million shillings, and Equity Bank has offered 300 million shillings.
Several corporates, government agencies and leaders have donated or made pledges in cash or kind towards supporting efforts to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. The latest is Equity Group Foundation with support from the MasterCard Foundation, who have announced a commitment of 1.1 billion shillings that will finance the purchase of personal protective equipment for frontline medical staff dealing with COVID-19 patients in public hospitals across the country. The funding includes a donation of 300 million shillings from the family of Equity Group Chief Executive Officer James Mwangi. He says they established the need to finance personal protective equipment for medical staff handling COVID-19 patients in the country after talking to Kenya Medical Association CEO and a group of doctors from Kenyatta National Hospital and University of Nairobi. Mwangi appealed to Kenyans to observe the recommendations from the Ministry of Health, noting that the populace owes itself a duty of ensuring that we do not add to the growing list of those infected or contacts. Of the commitment, MasterCard Foundation made a donation of 500 million shillings as part of its COVID-19 recovery and resilience program, while Equity Bank availed 300 million shillings. Mwangi says Equity Group Foundation will work closely with the Ministry of Health and the COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund.
The Central Bank of Kenya is projecting the country's economic growth to drastically reduce to 2.3% this year as the coronavirus pandemic continues to affect key trading partners' economies. To mitigate against COVID-19 adverse effects, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank has lowered the lending rates by 25 basis points to 7%.
As the coronavirus pandemic continues to dent the country's economy, battering key sectors, policymakers at the Central Bank of Kenya project economic recovery will not be so soon. According to the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank, the decision by the national carrier KQ and other carriers to start cargo services and ease of lockdowns in key international markets will boost the country's horticulture sector as the demand for local products rises in key international markets. The committee says it expects a decline in remittance from Kenyans in the diaspora, but the deficit will be offset by lower oil imports, with the current account deficit expected to remain at 5.8% in 2020. Inflationary expectations are well anchored within the target range, despite the economy operating below its potential, driven by favorable weather conditions, lower international oil prices, and the reduction of value-added tax VAT from 16% to 14%, among other government interventions. The private sector grew by 8.9% in the 12 months to March 2020, with the growth observed in the manufacturing, building and construction, trade, transport and communication, and consumer durables.
Safaricom made 70.3 billion shillings in full-year net profit, representing an 11.4% increase on the 63.1 billion shillings that the telco made the previous year. The profit was driven by M-Pesa, mobile data and fixed service revenue. Revenue from voice calls dipped 1.4%, while social media platforms ate into Safaricom's messaging revenue that declined by 12.3%. Safaricom has proposed a dividend payout of 1 shilling and 40 cents per share.
Safaricom's profits had traditionally been dominated by revenue from voice calls and text messages. This has, however, been changing in recent years as subscribers embrace new ways such as over-the-top mediums such as social media platforms like WhatsApp, Telegram and Instagram to communicate. This has seen revenue from voice calls and text decline in recent years. Even though voice calls remain the highest earner for Safaricom at 94.45 billion shillings, it dipped 1.4% compared to the previous years. In addition, revenue from text messages also dipped by 12.3% to 17.19 billion shillings. New revenue streams consisting M-Pesa, data and fixed service posted double-digit growth, powering the telecom's full-year profit to 70.3 billion shillings. Revenue from M-Pesa grew by 12.6% to 84.44 billion shillings, while that of mobile data increased by 12.1% to 40.67 billion shillings. Fixed service revenue increased by 10.7% to 8.97 billion shillings. The telco made 10.48 billion shillings from selling mobile phones, which pushed the total revenue by the telco to 262.56 billion shillings. The stringent rules imposed last year on betting activities hurt Safaricom's revenue, with the telco booking a loss of 1.9 billion shillings on M-Pesa betting, representing negative 32.8% change when compared to the previous year. The telco says it plans to spend 56.09 billion shillings of the 70.3 billion shillings profit it made on dividends, with shareholders pocketing 1 shillings and 40 cents per share.
Let's now cross our borders. The Algerian government has started to reopen more businesses such as clothing and jewelry stores in a move to ease the negative impact of the nationwide lockdown imposed to stem the spread of COVID-19. In the capital city of Algiers, a lot of shopkeepers said that their stress levels have increased sharply because of the epidemic outbreak and expressed the hope that their businesses will recover as soon as possible to make up for the losses resulting from the lockdown. Here are details of this and other stories from across the globe.
While considering that the epidemic is still not over, the Algerian government has imposed restrictions on opening hours. Traders say they allow up to 3 people into stores to prevent coronavirus infection. Algeria announced the first corona case of 25th of February. Shortly afterwards, the Algerian government adopted strict prevention and control measures in time to prevent further spread of the epidemic. There are around 100 newly confirmed cases per day in Algeria, indicating that the epidemic has entered a stable period, which is one reason why the Algerian government has allowed the reopening of some businesses. Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates economic pillars of tourism and transportation industries have been hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic, prompting the UAE government to launch a series of supportive policies. Sagut, a waiter works at a famous hotel in Dubai, says most rooms are empty with only a small number of long-term guests still staying. Although he is still working at his position, 2/3 of his colleagues are on unpaid leave. Those who are still on duty, like Sagut, are earning much less than they used to. Luckily, the hotel provides free food and lounge for them to stay. The UAE hopes to reopen tourism and transportation industries in July. Emirates Airlines says there are over 500,000 flight ticket refund transactions yet to be processed. Finally, a traditional market in Seoul, South Korea, where small stalls depend on foot traffic, has adopted online business in coronavirus pandemic. Suyu Traditional Market avoided coronavirus lockdowns and most businesses remained open. But that has not stopped the pandemic from extracting a heavy economic toll on traders dependent on face-to-face sales because of customers staying at home. Business is speaking up, at least for stall holders who have signed up to an online delivery system developed to help traders who normally work offline. Goods are now picked up from stalls and dropped at people's doors. Since the start of the pandemic, there has been a boom in shopping online in South Korea, which was already very popular.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television, and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m., on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa, and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming or download